Hello, welcome back to Chat About It, Don't Shout About It with me, Rachel, aka the Queen of the Woke, as crowned by one of my haters. Now, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, leave a like. That's all I ask you to do, really, in order to help my channel to grow. That'd be much appreciated. Thank you. And if you are subscribed already, thank you. And if you're coming back, welcome back. Okay, so we have a J.K. Rowling video today. And this is all to do with the fact that the police found her innocent. We'll get to that in a minute. And I want to say, mass meltdown that this has caused among the trans community. So I put out a poll the other day. Where is it? Okay, there we go. In fact, yesterday, 22 hours ago. So J.K. Rowling is innocent, according to the police. Are they wrong? Should J.K. Rowling have been prosecuted? There will be a video on this tomorrow, and I'll pop in India's response to it because it's interesting. It'll be up late tomorrow afternoon. In this case, it's evening because I had some major setbacks earlier on in the afternoon, so I couldn't release the video then. I do apologize. 43 votes were made. 5% say yes. 95% say no. Before we get into the J.K. Rowling stuff, we're going to cover India Willoughby first. Like normal, I'm going to keep my opinion out of it. You make the decision for yourself. Okay, so India released a video, and this was India's response. So it's two videos in one. So I'm going to show you the immediate response first, and then I will show you one where she pretends to be somebody else.
Somebody's messaged me to tell me about Police Scotland's announcement this afternoon that J.K. Rowling's latest tweet was not a hate crime, creating a list that included sex offenders and putting innocent people alongside them, while misgendering all of the trans people is not a hate crime. What's going on, Police Scotland? It seems that you're scared of her because she is J.K. Rowling, a billionaire. You're being intimidated. The law clearly states you cannot wantonly misgender trans people. The whole purpose of this hate crime is to protect trans people. Pray do tell us, what would constitute hate crime against a trans person if this doesn't? Because it sounds to me as if, short of J.K. Rowling actually beating somebody up or setting fire to the house, you're not actually going to do anything. So it's worth toffee. It's useless. I'm so disappointed. And all you've done here is actually greenlight more transphobia. You are saying to the public, and J.K. Rowling has actually tweeted already to her hordes of followers, and you can check them all out, some of the nastiest people you will encounter on social media. She's telling them, go out, misgender, it's perfectly fine. She uses the euphemism standing up for women's rights, but they're not going out to talk about abortion or the gender pay gap or anything like that. When she talks about women's rights, she's talking about hating trans people. And you've just given her a big tick for doing it. It is as clear as day that these are hate posts. That's what's motivating her. What is it about J.K. Rowling? It's like people get stardust in their eyes and they can't comprehend that the person who wrote Harry Potter can possibly be bad or vindictive. And she clearly is. There's a mountain of evidence out there, black and white. If she was doing this, I'm tired of saying these examples. If she was doing this about any other minority, or if another person was doing the same thing, making lists including sex offenders and then putting black or Jewish people in, there would be uproar, absolute outrage. But for some unknown reason, when it's trans people, you end up with paralysis. Nobody wants to do anything. Oh, well, it's perfectly fine to say the most offensive thing you could possibly say to a trans person because that's called having a view, or it's having an opinion, and it's having a belief. Well, try having a view, opinion, or a belief about black or Jewish people in an equivalent way and see where that gets you with the law. It is just grossly unfair. And from what I've seen, the early days of the Scottish Police hate crime law, what's it actually done? What protection has that given me? If J.K. Rowling can just wantonly misgender me, and the Scottish cops say that's fine, if she can put me in a list featuring rapists and predators, they say, again, that's fine, that's free speech. What exactly am I getting in the way of protection from Police Scotland?
Okay, so that was India's initial response that was posted shortly after. Now, India makes a reference to like black people, Jewish people, and like replacing all the words of trans, and replacing it in the context of perhaps like race or something like that, and see where that would actually get you. But most people would contradict that because, well, a lot of people, they state that J.K. Rowling states biological facts. So by that standard, technically, you would have to replace it with fact. So, I mean, hate speech is not good either way, and it shouldn't be happening. But I think there is a pretty high threshold as to what constitutes actually hate speech versus freedom of speech. Okay, so this is where India pretends to be Mary.
My name is Mary367 from Twitter, and I just want to say that J.K. Rowling absolutely speaks for me as a woman. Please do not call me a transphobe or a bigot or kiss.
Okay, so this was posted onto Twitter. India is under the impression that the word cis is banned from Twitter. It's not. I've got plenty of posts with the word cis in it, and the only time one of my posts was removed with the word cis in it was because the algorithm had picked up something else that I had mentioned. When I contested it, it was reinstated.
Just a stupid word. I'm none of those things. I love the trans community, and I think they should be treated with the dignity and the respect that they deserve. But I don't think they should be allowed to have a we next to me in the same room, because that's an affront to my dignity. And I don't think they should be allowed to try on clothes in the same changing room, because that's obviously dangerous. They're going to come in and they're going to attack me. So we can't have that. I don't think they should be allowed to play sports, because if you go and check the record books now, you'll see that all the big sporting competitions in tennis, things like Wimbledon and golf championships and snorkeling, they've all been won by trans people. Trans people are taking all the cups. It's a fact. I don't think that you should have to call a trans woman a woman. I think calling a trans woman a man is absolutely fine. That's not rude. It's not offensive. It's not transphobic. Um, it's just the truth. And the truth doesn't hurt anybody. If I said to somebody in a wheelchair, you'll never walk again, would they get upset? Of course not. So why should trans people have special privileges? And apart from that, I think trans people are absolutely lovely.
So just a couple of the other tweets that I've seen. It's not many, honestly. There are thousands of these tweets. Go and have a look for them. It's so easy to find them. I just pinned a couple, in particular the one about Katie Neves, because Katie Neves also did a response to J.K. Rowling. And this person says, "Can we just ask what JKR's doing? This is not an isolated tweet. It's her pinned tweet that she's pushing to 14 million followers. Are we saying they can not be influenced, motivated by this? So, firstly, why a reference to stealing underwear? All kids dress up. So what? Why say it?" And if you want to know what J.K. Rowling originally said, Katie Neves has been appointed as the UN Woman UK delegate. She switched from straight man to lesbian at the age of 48, and in a leaked 2022 webinar described how she used to enjoy stealing and wearing her sister's underwear. A truly relatable representative. So JK's thread possibly meets the stirring up hate towards a protected characteristic category. They say it was cause misgendering when actually it's the targeted element and conflation with predators that would be the issue. Any reasonable person should see that as targeted hate. So this is Katie Neves' response.
Well, what a few days. I found myself in the middle of a bit of a storm. So I was already getting piled on massively for my Transgender Day of Visibility post. The Trans Day of Visibility is on the 31st of March, which it is every year. It's just that this year happened to coincide with Easter Sunday, so I got bombarded with hundreds of messages of hate for that. So that was all rumbling away anyway. But then yesterday, something massive happened, and J.K. Rowling decided that she was going to put out a series of trans hostile, totally transphobic and hateful tweets and hate inciting tweets about trans people, but not just trans people. Some of the people that she put them on there were sex offenders. They were right at the top, and what happened is that then that basically conflated the two issues, and she's basically trying to say that all trans people, especially trans women, are sex offenders. That's effectively what she was inferring. Anyway, I was one of the people that she did a tweet about, and it was just horrendous. She called us all men, and one of the things that she threw at me was that she said that I'd stolen my sister's knickers. Well, I've never stolen my sister's knickers, ever. What I had done was that one of my earliest memories was age of around 3 or 4 was of my mum catching me trying on a pair of my sister's knickers. But say I was 3 or 4 at the time, my sister was 6 or 7. Yeah, it's what kids do, and particularly trans kids. It's a very common thing. You know, as you're exploring your gender, that's the sort of thing you do, and it couldn't possibly be a sexual thing because it was way before puberty. So there's no way that it could have been. That's ridiculous. But it was just an outward way of displaying how I felt inside. So that was one thing. But strangely, she didn't mention how old I was when I tried those on. But there you go. That's one of those things. And the other thing was that I recently was a delegate for UN Women UK. It's a conference about the status of women. It was held in New York, but I joined it virtually, along with 6,000 other delegates from the UK delegation. So I was only one of 6,000, and yet she only just picked out me. And not all of them were women anyway. They had men, they had non-binary people, basically anybody who wanted to support women and make the world a better place for women. That's what it was about. Gender wasn't important as being a delegate. But so those two things she picked me out for. And it was a similar thing. The Daily Mail ran an article about me last week, saying exactly the same thing. So they've defamed me doing that as well.
Okay, so I'm not going to play all of that video. She does go on for quite a fair bit. And just to round off that section, India Willoughby tweeted, "I'm a woman and female, recognised in law. That is truth, the fact." And then she's at Police Scotland, Hamzat Yousaf. "Won't protect me and others is out of my control. Truth is not hateful. You weren't born here. Those aren't real legs. You're not a real mum." And that was in response to telling the truth is not hateful. It's simply the truth. India Willoughby is a man. That's the cold, hard truth. I don't hate him. I would just like him to stay out of women's bathrooms. Before we get into the J.K. Rowling stuff, I got a couple of questions. So I'm going to read it out because that was the easiest way to do it. So there were activists that were saying that misgendering is a hate crime, and many appeared to believe that it would be protected by the new legislation, hate crime legislation. Okay, so that's what it would appear on the surface, that was led, we were led to believe that misgendering would be considered a hate crime. From what I've seen is that this law is quite vague or not overly clear. I've watched some lawyers' videos and I did figure that J.K. Rowling wouldn't be charged. I have a slightly better understanding of the hate crime, and as time will go on, I will get even more of a better understanding. It's just, it's very it's very vague. Now that could just be me, of course. There's also the Forstater case, Maya Forstater, who was fired for her gender critical beliefs, and that gender critical views are capable of being protected under the Equality Act 2010. Now, I know that was a work related incident, okay, but technically, does that conflict with misgendering? I guess I want to ask as one of those questions. So yeah, how does the Equality Act and new hate crime legislation coincide with gender critical views? I'd written it down. How does it work with protected characteristics? That we've covered in this video, trans biology. Does the law create a new crime of stirring up hatred relating to protected characteristics? Okay. And then my next question is, I've seen tweets from people on X who appeared to be defending the pronouns of the sex offenders. Not all trans people are SOs. I just want to be clear on that one, okay? But why are they respecting the pronouns? And it's not all of them. The pronouns / self ID of the SOs on JK's list. Those trans identified SOs, well, can I ask, are they truly trans women or are they abusing trans identity as cover for their own actions? So those are my questions. Please feel free to answer them. It would be good to get some take on that. All right, J.K. Rowling time. Okay, so comments. It was reported. This is from The Guardian. It was a couple of hours ago that this was released. It is not going to be recorded as a non-hate crime hate incident either. Authors' comments on Monday relating to trans women were posted as new hate crime law came into force in Scotland. Comments by J.K. Rowling that described prominent transgender women activists as men will not be recorded as a non-crime hate incident, Police Scotland has said. The HP author challenged the police to arrest her in a series of posts on X on Monday as the Scottish Government's contentious hate crime law came into force, which she described as wide open to abuse. She listed SOs who described themselves as transgender alongside well-known trans women activists, describing them as men, every last one of them. On Tuesday, the force confirmed that her comments did not amount to a crime, as it emerged that more than 3,000 complaints had been made under the new act within the first 48 hours. Now, want to know something interesting? I haven't been able to find the tweet that tweeted it, and I should have bookmarked it, and this was my own fault. That this was my bad. The trans activists who wanted to report J.K. Rowling for misgendering / targeted attacks, they found that they needed J.K. Rowling's address, and one of them said, "I need the address, but it's probably not best posted on here." Okay, and that obviously would then comply if it's not posted onto X. It will comply with not posting someone's personal details onto X. But someone then replied in the actual comments of this tweet with her actual public address and said it doesn't matter because it's public. So that meant then thousands of people could also see that, and I'm sure that people can go. People went and looked it up as well. I'm sure that's what happened with the public address. Now, I don't approve of that. Public or not, it is still a form of doxing. Don't approve of that. The Hate Crime and Public Order Act extends statutory aggravations to more protected characteristics, including age and transgender identity, and creates a new offence when someone communicates material or behaves in a threatening or abusive manner with the intention of stirring up hatred based on these protected characteristics, with a maximum custodial sentence of 7 years. While supporters of the Act insist that the bar for the prosecution is set very high, further concerns have been raised about the recording of non-crime hate incidents that do not meet the criminal threshold and are based on their perception of the victim or bystander. Although this method of recording has been in place for many years as a means of monitoring community tensions, Police Scotland is now reviewing its procedures after a court appeal ruling stated that a similar policy in England could have an effect on freedom of expression. A number of the complaints received by the force since Monday related to a speech made by the First Minister Humza Yousaf, when he was the Justice Secretary in 2020, during which he highlighted the preponderance of white people in senior public roles. Police Scotland confirmed that no crime had been committed in this case, nor was a non-crime hate incident recorded. This morning, the Scottish Government's Community Safety Minister, Siobhan Brown, told the BBC Radio's Good Morning Scotland programme that misinformation and publicity that had led to the high number of reports, adding that a fake complaint had been made using her name and contact details. She insisted that the extended stirring up offence had a very, very high threshold for criminality. We've been very clear within this act, this is not about restricting freedom of expression, it is to protect, she added. The Loose Women presenter, India Willoughby, a transgender woman. I wonder what she would be, what India would make of being called a transgender woman. Who was named in Rowling's post, said that Police Scotland's decision was weak, as in like from The Guardian I was talking about. And I just want to finish on something that Caitlyn Jenner said. J.K. Rowling facing arrest for misgendering, absurd. This has gone way too far. You can respect people's pronouns or not. We cannot force or coerce this type of speech with the threats of jail time. And then someone replied, would you be okay with her calling you he, Caitlin, as that's how I interpret her actions? And Caitlin replied, I don't care if people what people call me. As I said in the segment with whatever podcast she was doing. Now you may not agree with Caitlyn Jenner's political stances, but you know, I think this line, I don't care what people call me, particularly people that you just pass by. It says a lot. That it says a lot about Caitlyn Jenner there, I think. And it's the same with Debbie Hayton. Debbie Hayton doesn't care about being misgendered. So there are trans people out there who don't care. There are trans people out there that think that this law is ridiculous. And there are trans people out there who think that this law should be followed and all reportings of misgendering should be taken very seriously. Now, I don't want to put hate on anyone. I don't think that that's right. But what do you think? Chat about it, don't shout about it. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching. And I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.